Got my new Crossfire NanoRX Pro. Got it installed right here. Note, I haven't wrapped it up all the way yet because I tend to not put the heat shrink on it until I get everything bound up and good to go. Over here, got my Tango 2. Hopefully that's not flashing too hard, but it's almost finished with the firmware update and the binding. Watch what happens here. Don't interrupt. Loading. And usually we see this for just a moment. But now this happens. It just goes to binding and it sits here. And it doesn't finish. I've tried this 3 times now, and each time we're getting stuck here. And it says it's binding and then never actually finishes. It does the whole firmware update part successfully, and then goes to this bit and just stuck here. And one thing to note is that it does require 6.14 or later, but that's the version of the firmware that I'm running on this radio. I know you're not supposed to ever interrupt a firmware update, but I have done this 3 times now, and each time I just let it run and run and run, and it's not going anywhere. It's just going to continue to do this and just sit here and get hotter. So what do you do next when you're in this position? Waited a little bit longer, and now you can see the light is just blinking red over here. Steady red blink. We'll wait a little longer. Alright, it's been more than 5 minutes. The quad is pissed off. It's like, hey baby, why you no pay me no attention? What's with this stupid long firmware update? You know? So the thing that you got to do next is cancel this shit, because this ain't going nowhere. Exit all the way out of there, and we're gonna take this transmitter. Well, fuck, we're gonna unplug this bitch. We're gonna take this transmitter over to Agent M on the computer and plug it into Agent M, and we're gonna get some firmware updates. Alright, so here we are at my desktop. I'm going to try and plug this in with one hand. There it is, it's plugged in. Now I've got to go here and make a choice. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pick USB storage, because I want to back up my SD card. So here are the SD card contents, and I'm going to just copy everything. I've got a whole folder here full of these things. It's under Tango 2. Make a new folder. And this was 6.14. Paste all my stuff in. You don't need to watch all this, but it takes a few minutes. Almost finished. Mine takes especially long because I've got a bunch of sound packs. There's a whole bunch of extra WAV files in here, taking up a whole bunch of room. One other thing to note is there's 2 drives in the Tango 2. One of them's got this firmware files on it. Just leave that shit alone. Don't fuck with that. Just leave it alone. Just close it. Yeah, gone. Also, one quick thing I recommend is if you've got several quads and you're about to have to do a bunch of firmware updates to the radio, there's 2 different sides of the radio. If you're updating both sides, I recommend you break your binds before doing it, because doing the updates will often break your binds. So my recommendation is to break the binds intentionally beforehand by doing a factory reset of the NanoRX, so that you don't have to ever go in and push that stupid bind button. I hate pushing bind buttons. I'm lazy like that, so I'm just going to plug the quad in. Can I do it one-handed? maybe. The struggle. Alright, so we're going to go over here, a long press menu, go straight into Agent Light, and we're going to go down to the NanoRX, and General, and you can just reset to factory. Yep, reset it. This just puts the NanoRX back into auto bind mode so that it's all ready to go. I don't have to push that bind button because, like I said, I'm lazy. So plug it back into the PC again, and this time we're going to go to USB Agent. And over here we are at teamblacksheep.com/agentm. And this is what it looks like. You're going to want to do is just hit link device, and this little box is going to come up. You go select connect. Now I've got access to Crossfire and the Tango. And what we want is right down here at the bottom is firmware. And here's our firmware available. Oh look, my current firmware right here, 6.13. Well, that package said it required 6.14. I'm not on it. That's my problem. So my instinct to go to a firmware update was right. I want to go ahead and update to the latest. That's 6.17. Before I do that, let's read the patch notes. Fixes a bug. So says to use 6.17. That's the latest. I'm on beta flight 4.3 release candidate 3. So absolutely want to use the latest. So get it right there. Boom, boom. Stay in this tab while updating. So it's preparing now. Waiting for USB to connect it, so I'm going to hit link device. Come over here, connect. And here we go. Here we are about a minute later, and it's about to wrap up. At least the first stage. Oh, it's restarting. So I got to go back to my transmitter and tell it we want agent. And then we got to come back over to here and link USB device. And there it is. And now it's going to continue. Alright, we're almost finished with the subsystems. Been about a minute or so again. $99.9999. Almost there. Just going to go back through subsystems again if I recall. Be right back. While we're waiting, it's a good point to mention that if you bricked your radio using Agent X, that I have a tutorial on how to fix that. Basically, there's a bootloader using buttons on the back of the Tango 2, and you can just hold the buttons down and boot up to get into the two different sides of the radio's bootloaders, and that'll allow you to fix it if you happen to have bricked your radio. But I do have a full video in my playlist that works through exactly how to do that in step-by-step detail. and help you if you are stuck there. But Agent M hasn't been wrecking radios. It's really solved that issue and has been the way forward for getting all your firmware updates. Been very, very happy with its reliability. And I've actually spent quite a bit of time just doing firmware updates and testing these processes. I did like 15 updates in one day recently just to go through and test Agent X back to back to back and Agent M back to back to back and see if I could cause any failures. And Agent M's been 100% reliable for me so far with no issues whatsoever. I haven't left the browser as instructed, and you just have to be aware that it's going to want to reconnect several times during the process, and you're going to have to relink the USB in order to do that. But other than that, it seems to go quite smoothly. One other thing worth mentioning is SD card contents. I backed up my SD card contents, but I'm not going to have to install new ones. If I was going from a much older version, say I had a 4.0 firmware going to 6.0 firmware, then I would need new SD card contents. And you can go back into the patch notes and find the SD card content link from Team BlackSheep if you need to go that big jump, or if you're trying to recover your firmware. I would recommend clean SD card contents. But otherwise, I've got good working SD card contents. I've had great luck with my Tango 2, and I'm just updating because I want to use that new Nano Pro. It's just rebooted again. So again, we got to come back down here and tell it we want to talk to the agent. And then we got to come back up here and we got to link the device. And it says it's done. So whenever I do a firmware update, I always power off my radio and then bring it back on before I do anything else. And we're going to plug in USB. We're going to go back into Agent. And now we are going to go back and we're going to get the FreedomTX updates as well. Link it. Go to the firmware. And current firmware is 1.31 is current. Let's just check some patch notes. Fix a couple issues for the Mambo. Power off charging status issue. Disable unnecessary options. Add barometer speed sensor. USB is not detected after battery fully charged. Fix backlight. Yeah, these all sound good. I'm taking the update. So we're going to hit update. And we're going to flash. And here we go. Waiting for USB connected. Link device. You're going to see that a bunch of times. And let's go firmware. Firmware is downloading. Well, this will take a minute. I'll be right back. Main firmware is almost finished. Been about a minute and a half on that one. Okay, there's the disconnect and the reboot. So we go right back. Should be familiar. Go right back to Agent. And then we're going to link USB device. Tango 2. Connect. Successful update. So we're going to disconnect. Power down. Reboot it.
Good evening, Dave. Everything's running smoothly.
Gotta love the custom sound packs, right? And we're going to connect to the agent one more time, just check. Current, everything looks kosher. One other thing that is worth mentioning is whenever you do firmware update on your radio, you also want to be sure that you also go back in and recalibrate your sticks. I'm going to do it one at a time because I'm holding the phone, but I normally do this 2 at a time because I'm comfortable with it. But the trick is to be super gentle and feather light.
2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1.
Alright, I'll do the right side, and I told you I do it feather light.
2, 1,
The trick here is really just barely push it to the edges,
1, 3, 2,
especially on the bottom and the top.
3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, that's done. Last thing to do is reset the date and time. Y'all know how to do this. There we go. Y'all know how I roll. That's it though. Firmware update is good. I should be able to go back and rebind now. So here we are back on the bench. This is the quad with the new NanoRX Pro. Requires 14 or later, not 13, dumbass. So now I'm going to go ahead and long press the menu, go into Agent Light. I know the screen's flickering like a mofo for you guys, but it's perfectly clear for me. So we're going to hit binding. The red light is right there on the edge of the screen. And now it's going to ask us if we want to update our firmware. Yes. Oh, you like my new Tango 2 case? I made this myself. You can make one yourself too. I sell the clear cases on my website. They're just nostalgia cases for the Tango 2, the Mambo. I just splatter painted it with a little black on the inside and then sprayed it with the fluorescent green. Came out really, really nice. I think so anyway. I'm mighty proud of it. Firmware is almost finished. Just loading. Don't interrupt. Blinking its little heart out.
0%.
Oh
0%.
yeah. She's good. That worked. So one thing that always screws people up here is they want to hit the wheel to continue. If you do that, it starts binding again. Don't. You want to exit. We're good to go. Hope you got your firmware up to date. If you have trouble, just reach out, shoot me a message, and let me know what you're having trouble with. I can probably help you get it fixed. I've done a lot of Tango 2s and always know all the TBS gear inside and out. If you need help, let me know. If you're in the US, hit me up too. I sell all this stuff. Tango 2s, Mambos, Crossfire, Nanos, and Pros, Mortal T antennas, all the tracer gear, 69s, and the TBS Unify VTXs too, TBS antennas. I love all the TBS gear. They make great shit. If you need it, hit me up. I gotcha. www.flyhighfpv.com. I support everything I sell, you know? Like, I don't just sell this shit and like not back it up. I'm like here, working on the bench, fixing stuff, making it happen. Hit me up, boys. I'll see you soon in the air.